The wreckage floated through the silent dark like ghosts. Metal shards drifted slowly, pieces of what once had been a proud Kruth battle fleet. Now nothing more than twisted debris, burned bodies and shattered pride. Captain Varric stood at the viewport of his scout ship Eclipser, staring into the blackness. The faint red light of a dying star flickered against his grey-scaled skin. His 4 eyes blinked in unease. He had fought in dozens of wars, but this was different. The wrecks were too clean, too precise. "Bring us closer," he ordered in a low, gravelly voice. The small ship hummed forward, engines whispering against the vacuum. Through the transparent hull, Varric could see the scars on the broken ships. Deep, glowing cuts where energy beams had sliced through armor like paper. The crew worked silently, scanning, recording, analyzing. Then a younger officer, his tendrils shaking, spoke. "Captain, all power cores were destroyed with single hits. No chaos, no missed shots. Whoever did this knew exactly where to strike." Varric turned, his eyes narrowing. "Show me." The hollow display flickered to life, showing patterns across the fleet remains, identical targeting marks, each perfectly aligned. He recognized the pattern immediately. It was human. He froze. His gills flared slightly. "That can't be," he whispered. "Humans were crushed cycles ago." "Their colonies burned." The officer hesitated. "Then how do you explain this, sir?" A long silence filled the control deck. The only sound was the faint hum of the engines and the soft static of the scanners. Varric leaned closer to the screen. He could almost feel the chill from those glowing cuts. They weren't random. They were surgical, cold, deliberate. And then he saw it, etched into the hull of one destroyed Kruth battleship. A single, burned mark. A human symbol. A predator's skull painted in ash. A low murmur spread through the crew. One alien whispered what all were thinking. "Prey does not hunt like this." The communication logs from the destroyed fleet had been recovered. Fragments, static, half-broken cries for help. Varric ordered them played. The voices of his fallen soldiers filled the small ship. "Incoming vessels, small, fast, can't lock on. They're behind us, how are they?" Then silence, no final screams, no explosion alarms. Just sudden, complete death. Varric felt something rare for his species and a fear. He clenched his claws on the control rail. "Send all recordings to the Dominion High Command," he ordered. "Tell them." "Humanity is not extinct." The officer hesitated. "Sir, do you think they'll believe it?" Varric didn't answer. His eyes stayed fixed on the dark void ahead. Something about it felt alive, watching. He could sense the predators in the shadows, far away, orbiting Earth. In the blackness above the blue planet, a massive fortress floated silently. No lights, no signals. It didn't appear on any galactic chart. The humans had named it Bastion 1. Inside, men and women moved through dim-lit halls, lined with steel and flickering holograms. The smell of oil and ozone hung in the air. At the heart of the fortress, inside the command chamber, Admiral Elias Reyes stood before a wall-sized display showing the same wreckage Captain Varric had found. He was an older man, hair silver, eyes sharp as ice. His uniform carried no medals, no shine, only scars, one running across his face, another across his mind from wars long past. He studied the alien fleet logs in silence, while officers waited behind him, afraid to speak first. Finally, Reyes spoke, his voice calm but cold. "They came for us once. Now we hunt them." The room fell silent. The younger officers looked uneasy. One of them, Commander Lin, stepped forward. "Sir, the Kruth haven't attacked us directly in 20 years. If we strike now," Reyes turned slowly. "They erased our colonies, our people. We gave them silence and they took it for fear." He leaned over the console. "We've been quiet because we were building, training, watching." He pressed a button. The room darkened. Then outside the fortress window, the stars changed. Hundreds of hidden ships uncloaked, drifting in perfect formation around Earth. Human ships, dark, angular, built for one purpose. War Commander Lin stared in awe. "The fleet is ready?" Reyes nodded once. "They'll know soon enough." "Send the message," Lin hesitated. "To whom, sir?" Reyes turned back to the stars, eyes hard as steel. "To everyone watching. To every empire that thought we were prey." Back aboard the Eclipser, Captain Varric received a sudden transmission, an old human frequency thought long dead. The signal repeated once every few seconds. He played it. A calm human voice echoed through the deck. "This is Earth Command. Message to all, do not enter Terran space. This is your only warning." The crew froze. The voice was not afraid. It was cold, patient, like a hunter announcing its territory. Then came a second voice, recorded over the first, darker, heavier, like a whisper through static. "You hunted us. Now the hunters wake." The transmission cut off. Varex's crew looked to him, waiting for orders. None came. He was staring into the black ahead, into the place humans called home. He could almost imagine them out there, watching, waiting. Finally he spoke, his voice low and tight. "Set course for home. We must warn the Dominion." As the Eclipser turned away, something flickered in the distance, a shape moving among the wreckage. Too large for debris, too fast for random motion. For a moment, a silhouette appeared against the faint red light, a sharp, angular ship gliding silently. Then it vanished. Varex felt his blood run cold. For the first time in his long career, the mighty captain of the Kruth Dominion whispered a truth he could barely accept. The humans are back. The deep void between stars glowed faintly as the human fleet moved like shadows through space. Hundreds of ships, dark and silent, glided across the void without light or signal. The flagship Horizon Spear led the formation. Its hull was covered with stealth plating that absorbed every trace of radar. It was invisible, deadly, and quiet as a ghost. Inside the command deck, Captain Lyra Cortez stood tall, her eyes fixed on the holographic map in front of her. She was young, but her expression was made of steel. Her voice was calm as she said, "We've entered Kruth space. Maintain silent mode." Around her, officers worked in silence, fingers tapping across holographic panels. No one spoke unnecessarily. Every sound felt heavy, every breath controlled. The ship's AI whispered updates. Multiple Kruth communication channels detected ahead. "No sign they've noticed us." Lyra nodded slightly. "Good, they will." The fleet had been built in secret, deep within the asteroid belts of the Sol system. For 20 years, humanity had been preparing, not for defense, but for the hunt. The galaxy had called them prey once, weak, emotional, and divided. Now they were united, trained, and patient. They had learned from every alien war they survived. They had evolved. Captain Cortez turned toward the tactical display, showing enemy patrol routes. The Kruth ships moved in predictable patterns, rigid, mechanical, confident. She studied them for a long time, then spoke. "Send out 3 ghost wings, no fire, no contact. I want them to see us, but only for a moment." The officers hesitated, confused. "Captain, you want them to detect us?" "Yes," she said with a small, dangerous smile. "Let them feel fear before the darkness comes." Within minutes, 3 small human fighter units detached from the fleet, disappearing into the void. They moved with precision, vanishing from sensors only to reappear seconds later behind the Kruth patrols. The aliens detected movement but couldn't track it. In the Kruth patrol ship Vorgath, alarms blared. The commander shouted, "What is that?" Unknown signature, small crafts appearing and disappearing. "Can you lock on?" "Negative." "They're gone again!" Then for a brief moment the humans decloaked, just long enough for the Kruth scanners to see them. Sleek black ships marked with the insignia of Earth's predator corps. The Kruth commander froze. "Humans?" He whispered the word like a curse. Before he could act, the fighters vanished again into silence. The Horizon Spear observed everything. Captain Cortez folded her arms. "That's enough. Pull them back." The trap was set. The Kruth would report what they saw. Panic would spread. Fear would grow. Humanity didn't need to fire a single shot to win the first battle. Fear was their weapon now. Back on the Kruth capital world, chaos was brewing. The Dominion Council gathered in their great chamber. Voices raised, claws slamming against metal floors. "Impossible," shouted one elder. "Humans were destroyed." Another barked, "Our fleets, our colonies gone without warning." "Are you saying they did this?" A smaller Kruth, nervous and trembling, played the recovered transmission. "Do not enter Terran space. This is your only warning." The chamber fell silent. The words echoed like thunder. The Kruth leader, Supreme Overlord Thex, narrowed his eyes. "If humans truly rise again, Then we face an old enemy made new. They adapt faster than any species. We must strike first. He ordered the mobilization of 3 fleets toward human-controlled sectors, but none of them reached their destination. The moment the fleets entered the dark border of the Terran zone, their signals vanished. No distress calls, no wreckage, just silence. One scientist whispered, "It's like they were erased." Thex slammed his clawed hand on the table. "They are not gods. Find them." But deep inside, even he felt it, that creeping fear he could not name. Meanwhile, on the horizon spear, Cortez received word of the Kruth mobilization. She smiled faintly. "They're coming," she said. "Exactly as we planned." Her crew looked uneasy. One officer asked, "Captain, do you think they understand what we are now?" Cortez turned to him, her eyes cold but steady. "No, they still think we're prey. That's their mistake." She turned back to the holographic map. "Prepare Phase 2. Target their outer colonies. Leave survivors." The officer hesitated. "Survivors?" "Yes," she replied. "Predators don't just hunt. They let others watch." As the human fleet adjusted course, engines glowed faintly like burning eyes in the void. The music of the hunt began again, silent, rhythmic, deadly. No one spoke, no one cheered. They were soldiers, not monsters. But in the hearts of every man and woman aboard those ships, there was a shared truth, one passed down through generations of struggle. Humanity had never been weak. They had only been waiting. The horizon spear disappeared into darkness once more, leaving behind only whispers and fear. Somewhere light years away, alien transmissions repeated a single line. They were never prey. Across the galaxy, fear began to move faster than light. It wasn't carried by ships or soldiers. It traveled through whispers, through half-broken transmissions, through the frightened eyes of survivors who swore they had seen human ships in the dark. The Kruth Dominion called it the Shadow Plague. Wherever a human signal appeared, entire colonies went silent within hours. Trade convoys vanished without distress calls. Patrols disappeared mid-route. And when other species sent rescue fleets, they found nothing but empty space and drifting debris. No blood, no signs of life, only silence. In the great markets of the Varn Consortium, merchants stopped trading in Terran metals. On the Ryle homeworld, schools told children stories of the ancient humans, the beasts who once crawled from a death world and challenged the stars. Those stories were meant to scare them into obedience. Now they scared the adults too. News channels across different systems replayed one leaked video again and again. A Kruth officer gasping for breath as his ship burned around him. His final words, "They came from nowhere. They move like hunters. They don't talk, they just watch." Then the video cut to static. Across alien networks, panic spread. Governments tried to control it, but the people already believed. Humanity, the vanished race, was back. And they were angry. On the Kruth capital, the Dominion High Council was collapsing into chaos. Generals shouted at scientists, ministers blamed each other, and fear thickened the air like smoke. "We underestimated them," one shouted. "Their technology evolved while we slept." Another screamed, "No, this is impossible." Humans were savages, barely spacefaring, but a voice rose above the rest. It was Captain Varex, the scout leader who had seen the wreckage firsthand. His body was wounded from the journey, but his voice carried strength. "So you call them savages because you never understood them," he said coldly. "Humans don't fight for power. They fight for survival. That's why you'll never beat them." The chamber fell silent. Even the Overlord seated on his iron throne didn't reply. He simply stared at the projection showing destroyed fleets, burning colonies, and one chilling image, a Terran warship hovering above a Kruth moon, its hull marked with a glowing red emblem shaped like a predator's eye. The message below it read, "The hunt has begun." On Earth, far away from the chaos, the United Human Defense Command watched the transmissions with quiet satisfaction. In the dark command room of Bastion 1, Admiral Reyes and Captain Cortez stood side by side. "They're panicking," Cortez said. "Good," Reyes replied. "Fear is faster than weapons." "And more effective," she added. Reyes looked out the window at Earth below, blue, fragile, yet untouchable. "We gave them peace once," he said softly. They answered with fire. Now they will learn peace through fear. In that moment, the old Admiral didn't look like a soldier. He looked like something older, something primal. The galaxy had forgotten that humans came from a world that tried to kill them every day. A world of storms, predators, volcanoes, and diseases. On Earth, they had learned to fight nature itself. In space, they only had to fight arrogance. Back among the stars, alien species tried to form alliances against the humans. But mistrust ran deep. Old enemies could not unite quickly enough. Each species waited for the others to act first, afraid to make a move that would draw human attention. And so the galaxy froze, waiting, watching, afraid to breathe. Meanwhile, human fleets moved deeper into Kruth space. They didn't destroy every world they found. They chose specific targets: communications relays, energy depots, war factories. Each strike was clean, fast, and terrifying. Survivors were always left behind to tell the story. One Kruth pilot, captured alive, was brought before Captain Cortez. He trembled as she approached him. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "You could conquer us easily. Why hunt us one by one?" Cortez looked down at him, her eyes calm. "Because," she said quietly, "we don't want your worlds. We want your fear to teach you restraint." The Kruth didn't understand. He couldn't. For his kind, war was about domination. For humans, it was survival instinct. They didn't fight because they loved battle. They fought because they couldn't forget what it meant to lose everything. The captured pilot was released. He was allowed to live. He flew home shaking, haunted by the human commander's eyes that looked not hateful but ancient and cold, like those of a predator that had learned patience. His report spread faster than any weapon could. Whole sectors surrendered without a single shot. Some alien commanders even began removing fleets from human borders, trying to avoid drawing attention. But the silence didn't comfort them. It terrified them more. No one knew when or where the next attack would come. The humans didn't want territory or tribute. They wanted balance. And in that strange silence, as stars burned quietly and fleets hid behind their own fear, one truth became clear to all races in the galaxy. The humans were no longer the weak prey of old legends. They were the hunters now. The stars above Kruth space were calm, but beneath that calm, death was moving. The human fleet had arrived, silent, invisible, and watching. The Kruth Dominion, once proud and arrogant, didn't know it yet, but the hunt had already begun. The Horizon Spear glided through the void like a shadow, its surface absorbing every trace of light. Captain Lyra Cortez stood on the bridge, hands behind her back, her gaze fixed on the tactical display. Around her, crew members spoke in hushed tones, the air thick with tension and focus. "All wings are in position," reported Lieutenant Hale. "Stealth field stable. No detection." Cortez gave a slow nod. "Good, keep it that way. When they see us, it'll already be too late." The plan was simple and terrifying. Strike fast, strike clean, leave no chaos behind. Humans didn't fight wars anymore. They executed hunts. Every target had been chosen with precision. Communications hubs, weapon depots, shipyards, every nerve of the Kruth war machine was marked for silence. "Admiral Reyes sends approval," said another officer. "He wants us to move at your command." Cortez's expression didn't change. "Tell him we move now." Across the fleet, a silent signal pulsed through the void. No radio chatter, no light. Just a faint burst of data, a whisper that launched a storm. In seconds, hundreds of human ships jumped from stealth into attack range. The void exploded into fire. Kruth outposts were torn apart before they could send distress calls. Defense grids never activated. Energy cores were destroyed first. Human drones swarmed across stations, disabling power lines and weapons with mechanical precision. Inside one Kruth control center, chaos erupted. "We're under attack," shouted an officer. "From where?" "Everywhere." The main screens flickered. On one of them, a dark silhouette appeared, sharp, sleek, unmistakably human. Then, before anyone could react, the entire station went dark. Outside, the Horizon Spear moved through the smoke, targeting its next victim. On the bridge, Cortez watched the destruction with calm, controlled eyes. She didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. This was not about revenge. It was about message and memory. "Confirm no civilian losses," she said. "We only take military points." "Confirmed, Captain," replied Hale. "No civilian structures in range." "Good," Cortez said softly. "Predators don't waste prey that isn't part of the threat." Moments later, another signal arrived from Bastion 1, Admiral Reyes himself. His voice filled the command deck, deep and steady. Phase 1 successful. Proceed with the second wave. Make them understand why Earth was called the Death World. Cortez straightened. Acknowledged. Horizon Spear moving to secondary grid. The fleet split. Smaller ships darted toward neighboring moons, hitting supply lines, disabling jump gates, and leaving no survivors to warn others. The entire Kruth sector was plunged into confusion. No one knew how many human ships there were. Every sensor showed ghosts. Every report contradicted the next. It felt as if the humans were everywhere and nowhere. On one Kruth battleship, Captain Zorath screamed into his communicator. "We can't see them. Our sensors show nothing." "Then shoot at everything." "Everything's already gone." Then his ship shook violently as the hull was breached. The last thing Zorath saw before being pulled into space was a small human drone hovering at the control deck window. Its metal face glowed red for a second, then it detonated. The entire ship vanished in a single white flash. Back aboard the Horizon Spear, Cortez watched her screens with icy precision. Target neutralized. Proceed to next. For hours, the silent destruction continued. Human ships left trails of fear instead of bodies. They took no trophies, sent no messages, and made no threats. The Kruth began to crumble under invisible pressure. Their chain of command collapsed as reports stopped coming. The Dominion Council screamed for answers, but none came. At last, as the fleet regrouped near a dying sun, Cortez gave the order to halt. Her crew looked up in surprise. "Captain, we're stopping." "Yes," she said, walking to the window. "The message has been sent." She looked at the burning remains of the Kruth colonies, glowing faintly against the darkness. "They'll spend months trying to understand what happened here." "That's enough for now." One of her officers spoke softly. "You think they'll surrender?" Cortez shook her head. "No, they'll retaliate. Fear makes fools out of predators who don't know their place." She turned to her crew. "But we'll be ready. This isn't a war anymore, it's a balance." Her eyes hardened. "Predators don't kill for sport. They kill to survive." The crew stood silent, understanding her meaning. They weren't fighting to conquer the galaxy. They were teaching it to respect the one rule humanity had lived by since the beginning. Survival belongs to those who endure. Outside, the human fleet vanished once more into the endless dark, leaving only wreckage and silence behind. The Kruth would call it a massacre. The humans would call it the first hunt. The smoke of ruined worlds still drifted through space when the human fleet went silent again. The hunt had ended, but the lesson had only begun. Across the stars, wreckage floated like graves, and the Kruth Dominion was paralyzed. Their fleets were gone, their generals vanished, and their people whispered one question: why had the humans spared some? In the command deck of the Horizon Spear, Captain Lyra Cortez stood before a prisoner. The creature was bound in a containment field, his gray skin scarred, his golden eyes sharp with defiance. He was Dr. Serath, a Kruth scientist captured during the last strike. "You are wasting time," Serath hissed. "You could have killed us all." "Why hold me?" Cortez studied him quietly. "Because we don't destroy without reason," she said. "You call us monsters, but monsters don't choose. Predators do." Serath spat in anger. "Predators? You think you're noble? You hunt us like animals." Cortez stepped closer, her voice low and cold. "Animals kill for hunger. We kill for survival. You came to Earth once and burned our colonies. You wanted resources, slaves, land. We learned. We adapted. You taught us to stop being prey." The alien sneered. "So this is revenge." Cortez shook her head slowly. "No, revenge is emotion. This is balance." The bridge was silent. Even the crew listened, holding their breath. "Balance?" Serath repeated bitterly. "You destroyed entire fleets. Where is balance in that?" Cortez turned to the large window that showed the glowing remains of a Kruth moon. "Your kind built weapons to dominate. You enslaved weaker races. You thought peace was something to own. We don't want peace like that. We just want you to stop hunting." Serath's voice grew quiet. "And if we don't?" Cortez looked back at him with eyes like frozen fire. "Then the hunt continues." Meanwhile, aboard Bastion 1, Admiral Reyes watched the same scene through a secure link. His hands were clasped behind his back, and his face was unreadable. Commander Lin entered the room, hesitant. "Sir, reports confirm that Kruth resistance is collapsing. Several systems are surrendering without combat. What are your orders?" Reyes didn't answer at first. He stared at the hologram of the galaxy before him. So many worlds, so many stars, each one touched by fear. "We wait," he said finally. "Let fear do what bullets can't." Lin frowned. "So the Council wants you to open peace talks?" Reyes gave a small, humorless smile. "Peace talks only work when both sides are ready to listen. The Kruth aren't ready. They only understand power. So we speak in the only language they taught us." He walked toward the window, staring at the blue curve of Earth below. "They called us weak once," he murmured. "Now they'll call us predators. That's enough." Back on the Horizon Sphere, Cortez ordered the guards to release Dr. Serath's bonds. The crew stared, confused. "Captain," one of them whispered. "He's dangerous." "So are we," Cortez replied simply. She handed the alien a small communication device. "Take it. Go back to your people. Tell them what you saw. Tell them what we said." Serath stood frozen, uncertain whether it was a trick. "You're letting me go?" "Yes," Cortez said. "Because predators don't destroy nests that no longer threaten them." As Serath was escorted to a shuttle, the crew exchanged uneasy glances. One young officer finally asked, "Captain, why let him live?" "He'll warn them." Cortez nodded. "That's the point. Let them know what we stand for. Let them understand that we don't rule. We protect the balance." The officer frowned. "But they'll fear us more." "Good," Cortez said. "Fear keeps the wild alive." Hours later, Serath's shuttle vanished into hyperspace, carrying with it the story of humanity's code. In the following days, messages began spreading across alien channels, some calling humans demons, others calling them guardians. But the meaning was clear to all. Humans could not be conquered, only respected. On Earth, Admiral Reyes gathered the council of commanders in the war room. "You've seen what fear can do," he said. "But remember, fear is a tool, not a throne. The moment we start ruling through it, we become them." The room was silent. Each commander knew the cost of power. Humanity had won this hunt not because of weapons, but because of patience. They had learned to wait, to strike only when necessary. That was their new code. That was what made them different. Outside, the stars gleamed over the dark side of Earth, each one a reminder of how far humanity had come, from prey to predator, from fear to purpose. And as the human fleet continued its quiet watch over the galaxy, one truth spread across every species, whispered in fear and awe alike. The humans did not seek war. They sought balance. And in the endless silence between the stars, balance had returned. The galaxy was quiet, but not at peace. The Kruth Dominion licked its wounds while rumors spread across the stars. Stories of a species that hunted warlords, tore apart armadas, and vanished before anyone could strike back. They called them Deathworlders, Ghost Fleet, or simply humans. On a remote moon of the Orion Verge, Captain Lyra Cortez stood at the edge of a canyon, her boots pressed into ash. The ruins below were old Kruth facilities, now nothing but blackened metal and bones. She tapped her wrist console. "Scan complete. No survivors." The AI's calm voice replied, "Confirmed. All power signatures terminated. But there's something deeper, unknown structure beneath the ruins." Cortez frowned. "Send the drones." Moments later, mechanical spheres descended into the smoke, their lights cutting through the darkness. Then came static, a faint hum, and suddenly, an echoing signal. A voice, "Human vessels." "You are not alone." Cortez froze. The voice wasn't Kruth. It wasn't human either. It was older, metallic, layered with distortion. The drone's cameras flickered, showing a vast underground vault filled with alien carvings and a massive dormant machine. Cortez whispered, "Reyes needs to see this." Hours later, aboard Bastion 1, Admiral Reyes watched the footage in silence. His officers murmured behind him. "That's not Kruth tech," said Commander Lin, eyes wide. "It's ancient, pre-Dominion, maybe older." Reyes nodded slowly. "And it's waking up." On the screen, the carvings depicted something chilling, humanoid shapes surrounded by beasts, their eyes glowing with light. At the bottom, words in an ancient tongue translated roughly as, "From prey rose the hunters." Reyes muttered, "It's about us." Lin shook her head. "Impossible." "These carvings are millions of years old." Reyes looked at her, his voice low. "Then humanity's story didn't start on Earth." The room fell silent. If true, this changed everything. Across the galaxy, new movements began to stir. Alien empires saw the humans' growing power and feared what would come next. Some wanted alliance, others plotted revenge, and somewhere beyond known space, something listened to the Kruth's desperate transmissions, something far older than both species. Meanwhile, on the frontier world of Asterion, a group of Kruth survivors gathered under the banner of General Varix, the same commander who had once found the first human attack site. His scars had deepened, but so had his obsession. He slammed his clawed hand on the table. "You fools talk of peace. I've seen their eyes. Humans will not stop until every threat is gone. They are predators perfected through pain." One Kruth officer hissed back, "Then how do we fight predators?" Varix leaned forward, voice sharp. "By becoming something worse." He opened a container revealing human armor, scavenged from fallen soldiers. "We'll study them, learn their code, their strategy. If we can't beat them, we'll become them." Back on Earth, Admiral Reyes was not blind to the danger. He stood in the observation dome, watching the fleet assemble. "They'll try to copy us," he said quietly. Commander Lin nodded. "They'll fail." Reyes didn't smile. "Maybe, but imitation is how predators evolve." As the fleet prepared for a new expedition to the Orion Verge, Cortez received encrypted orders: investigate the vault, retrieve the source of the signal. She knew the risks but didn't hesitate. Humanity needed to know who or what had left that message in the dark. When her ship arrived at the canyon again, the machine below had begun to hum louder. Energy readings spiked, and the carvings glowed with golden light. "It's reacting to us," said the ship's AI. Cortez swallowed hard. "Or remembering us." The ground shook. A blinding beam of light erupted from the vault and pierced the clouds. In that moment, every sensor in nearby systems detected the pulse. Messages raced through alien networks. The humans had awakened something ancient. From the shadows of deep space, a colossal silhouette stirred. Massive wings unfolding, metal and light fused together. It wasn't a ship. It was a construct dormant for eons. The signal's translation echoed across Cortez's bridge. The predators returned to claim their hunt. Cortez whispered, "This isn't human, but it knows us." As the beam faded, Admiral Reyes received the alert. He stared at the coordinates, his jaw tightening. "They've found it," he said. "The origin?" Commander Lin asked quietly. "Origin of what, sir?" Reyes turned to her, eyes cold and focused. "Of the first hunters." The screen flickered, showing faint energy trails across nearby sectors, movements too organized, too deliberate. Reyes knew then that the quiet balance was ending. The galaxy had just been reminded of something it was never meant to remember. The humans were not the first predators among the stars, but they might be the last. The stars trembled as the pulse spread across the galaxy. Every sensor, every watchtower, every listening post picked up the signal that had come from the Orion Verge. It was ancient, powerful, and filled with something beyond human or Kruth understanding. Admiral Reyes stood on the Bastion 1's command deck, the data streams glowing before him. "The pulse reached all sectors," reported Commander Lin. "Every major species knows. We can't hide this." Reyes's eyes narrowed. "Then we don't. Let them see what we found. Let them fear what's coming." The humans had not just uncovered an ancient machine. They had awakened the first hunters, a race that vanished before written history, a species that once ruled the stars through fear and strength. And now they were stirring again. On the horizon sphere, Captain Lyra Cortez watched the alien construct rise from the canyon. It floated slowly, vast and impossible, glowing with golden veins of energy. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, shifting between forms as if remembering what it once was. The ship's AI whispered, "Captain, it's scanning us." Cortez steadied her voice. "Let it. Maybe it wants to know who inherited its legacy." A blinding flash filled the bridge, and then the voice returned, metallic, layered, and ancient. "Children of flesh, the prey that learned to hunt." Cortez froze. "You know us?" "We made you," the voice replied. The crew gasped. "Impossible," one officer said. "It's lying." But the voice continued, calm and terrifying. "We scattered seeds across young worlds, testing who would survive. Many fell, you endured. You are our success," Cortez whispered. "You created humanity." "Created?" "No, shaped," said the entity. "Your world was a crucible, a death world. Only the strong survived. That is why you are different. Cortez's chest tightened. Then why contact us now? Because our time ended long ago, the voice said. We fought ourselves into extinction. You now stand where we once stood. The cycle begins again. Back on Earth, Admiral Reyes received the same transmission. The message played through the command chamber, chilling everyone who heard it. Lynn whispered, "If that thing is telling the truth, then we were never alone. We were made to survive." Reyes said nothing for a long time. Then slowly he replied, "Then our creators built us to finish what they couldn't." Meanwhile, on the shattered world of Asterion, General Varex of the Kruth watched the pulse echo across his skies. He knew the humans were involved. "So the hunters return," he muttered. "But are they gods or monsters?" One of his lieutenants approached. "The Dominion Council wants to surrender to the humans. They say it's over." Varex's eyes glowed with fury. "Over? It's only begun. If humanity is truly the descendant of ancient predators, then we either bow or we learn to become like them." He clenched his fist. "And I will never bow." Back on the horizon sphere, the construct began to move toward space. Cortez's senses screamed. "It's generating a field. Massive energy buildup," she shouted. The voice echoed again. "We are leaving this plane. Our era has passed. But beware, our children. The cycle always turns. Hunters become prey. Remember your code or fall as we did." The light engulfed the ship. For a moment, every human felt a presence. Something vast, cold, ancient. Then it vanished. The construct folded into the void, leaving behind only silence and a faint golden residue drifting in space. Cortez's crew sat in stunned quiet. One officer finally spoke, voice trembling. "What now, Captain?" Cortez took a deep breath. "Now we decide what kind of predators we want to be." Aboard Bastion 1, Reyes watched the readings fade. "It's gone," Lynn said. "No trace." Reyes nodded slowly. "Not gone, watching." He turned to his officers. "The galaxy will come for us now. The Kruth, the Union, the others, they'll all see this as proof we're dangerous." Lynn asked, "Then what's the plan, sir?" Reyes looked at the hologram of Earth, glowing blue against the black. "The same as always," he said quietly. "We survive, we adapt. And if they come for us again," his voice dropped to a whisper, "we remind them why the first hunters chose humanity." Outside, the fleet began to reposition. Thousands of ships formed a silent wall of light, guarding the home world. Messages rippled through the stars, warnings, pleas, threats, but humanity answered none. They simply watched and waited. Deep within the Orion Verge, fragments of the golden light drifted into the void, merging with unseen shapes that moved between dimensions. The ancient voice whispered one last time, unheard by any sensor. "The prey have learned. The hunt begins anew." And in the endless silence of the galaxy, humanity stood ready, no longer the hunted, but the predators born of stars.